In fact, Jason is a 4th-level low-level heavenly spiritual master. At this moment, his physical strength is not much different from Ronald, a 7th-level earth element intermediate emperor spiritual master. But who is Jason? The pioneer of technical and spiritual medicine, he is ranked 2nd in terms of control and skills of physical strength, and no one in the entire continent dares to be ranked 1st. Even in reality, if 2 people with the same power fight against each other, one is a professional killer and the other is a bodybuilder, I am afraid that the bodybuilder will not be able to perform 2 moves at all under the hands of the professional killer. In Stern Continent, the gap between Jason and Ronald, who are pioneers in technical fluid medicine, is even more outrageous than the gap between a professional killer and a bodybuilder. Jason, who has inherited the line of violent spiritual masters for 3,000 years and is so strong in physical skills, let alone a Ronald, even if there are 10 Ronalds at the moment, they can't hurt Jason. Rude hares. You brat! Ronald raised his head, his red eyes almost bursting with fire. This was an unbearable frustration. He was going crazy with anger. He could feel that the force Jason used was not too great, but every attack he made could be easily blocked by the opponent, and calling back, it was hard for him to believe. You can scold him all you want, but I promise, this is the last time. Jason's eyes were cold and his expression was indifferent. Bang! He kicked Ronald's calf hard, and with such clever force, Ronald's shin bone lying across the steps suddenly shattered with a dull sound. The disappearance of his father made Jason extremely depressed. He desperately wanted to vent. Unfortunately, Ronald became the target. Ronald frowned, with boundless anger in his eyes, and gritted his teeth tightly, forcing himself not to shout. You are very stubborn, but it's a pity that you shouldn't have any ideas for me. Jason's face was calm, and he stepped down again. Ronald's left calf tibia was also broken. Master Jess, stop it. In the square outside the stairs, Daimler and Herbert were shocked. Before the incident happened, they never imagined that the ending would be like this. Bang bang bang, Jason ignored the 2 of them. Under Ronald's horrified eyes, he tapped his feet on Ronald's legs. Ronald's eyes widened and his mouth opened wide. He felt that his knees were shattered. The severe pain made him unable to bear it anymore, and he let out a shocking scream. His face was pale, his face was covered with big beads of sweat, and his whole body was twitching and spasming in severe pain. Stop! In the square, Daimler and Herbert roared. As they swung their weapons, 2 spiritual rays of light, one white and one green, aimed at Jason like lightning. Jason was shocked. Chi-Chi, after entering the forbidden spirit realm, the 2 rays of spiritual power instantly dissipated into nothingness, as if they had never existed. In the forbidden spirit realm, the spiritual elements are completely imprisoned and cannot form substantial spiritual power. All components of spiritual power will collapse and dissipate in an instant, making it difficult to exist. Jason was completely relieved and looked at Ronald, the elder of the Curie family, who was lying on the steps, twitching in pain. I'm sorry, you wanted me to die, so I had to let you die first. Jason said indifferently. No, Master Jace, please let me go. I swear I will never hurt you. Ronald, who had always been extremely stubborn in the face of death, finally gave in. His face showed an extremely frightened light, and his eyes were pleading. Master Jace, please let Ronald go. We will let you live. Come out. We swear on the honor of the Per family and the Bella family that we will never touch you. In the square, he found himself Nijia. Daimler and Herbert, who were helpless, both spoke with gloomy faces. Do you think I'm an idiot? Jason ignored both Herbert and Ronald. In Ronald's desperate eyes, he cracked Ronald's neck with a click and threw him away. Above the stairs. Ronald refused to close his eyes, with blood constantly bleeding from the corners of his mouth, and his eyes widening. The majestic 7th-level intermediate imperial spiritual master, the great elder of the Curie family, and the so-called invincible existence in the Chaos territory unexpectedly died at the hands of Jason, a 4th-level heavenly spiritual master. In his hands, he stopped breathing with humiliation and despair. In the square, Herbert and others' eyes were widened, and their faces were full of shock. Reagan and others were all shocked and filled with confusion. They never thought that Jason would be so powerful in the forbidden spirit realm, and they all looked shocked. Elixir, this kid must have taken the elixir, Herbert said gloomily. Daimler and others suddenly realized that in the science of elixirs, there are many elixirs that can increase strength. Just like the last level of the Elixir Master Conference that Jason participated in, different elixirs increase strength through different ways. In the realm of forbidden spirits, elixirs that increase strength by increasing spiritual power are definitely ineffective. However, there are some elixirs that use some hormones to stimulate the muscles of the human body to increase strength. Such elixirs are completely ineffective in the realm of forbidden spirits. In the minds of Herbert and others, Jason must have secretly taken some kind of spiritual elixir to increase his strength before being able to kill Ronald, who was a 7th-level intermediate imperial spiritual master. Herbert, what should we do now? Daimler gritted his teeth in the square. He wanted to tear Jason into pieces, but the other party was extremely smart to hide in the forbidden spirit realm. With Ronald's the tragic end served as an example, and Daimler and others simply did not dare to go in. They clearly knew that Jason had a lot of treasures and materials, but they couldn't get them, which made Daimler and Herbert feel extremely frustrated. Don't worry, I don't believe that this kid has been staying in here and not coming out. Even if he really never comes out, the fog outside the death maze has only cleared for a month. Without food, he will still be trapped. If we die here, at most we will not get any benefits. Herbert also had a hint of ferocity on his face. He knew that he had completely offended Jason at this moment, so he could only kill him without stopping. Otherwise, if Jason is allowed to escape, if the other party is a direct descendant of a big family in the mainland, his family will be doomed after he returns. Such a risk is something Herbert does not dare to take, and cannot take. Looking at the vicious eyes of Daimler and others in the square, Jason sat cross-legged on the steps. Although they killed Ronald, his situation is not good at the moment. Daimler and the others can slowly grind him to death. When Jason was trapped on the stairs of the Forbidden Spirit Realm and didn't know where to go in the inheritance space, 3 golden sword rainbows were shaking in front of Renault. Every time they shook, there were countless golden and misty lights in the 3. A golden sword is lingering in the rainbow. 3 golden sword rainbows formed a golden triangle, which seemed to faintly lock the space and completely control the space. Renault's expression was serious, his eyes flashed, and with a loud shout, he waved his hand, and 3 golden sword rainbows made a sharp whistling sound, like golden thunder and lightning, and instantly struck the wall in front of him. Above. Boom! In the explosion of 3 golden sword rainbows concentrated at one point, the wall suddenly turned into countless fragments and exploded instantly. Finally successful. Renault gasped, with a hint of ecstasy in his eyes. However, at this moment, the broken wall came together again in an instant, and at the same time a large number of carved patterns and words appeared in front of him again. The second stage of the inheritance task has been completed. It took 5 days and 4 hours. Now we enter the last stage of the inheritance task. The inheritance task requires, learn the 3rd form within 1 year. The inheritance task is successful and all the inheritance is obtained. Failure and death, this is there a 3rd level? Learn the 3rd level in 1 year? There was despair in Renault's eyes. Renault roared angrily. Boom, 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 countless golden sword rainbows continued to condense in front of Renault, and bombarded the golden chamber that surrounded Renault one after another. In these short 5 days, Renault's strength has greatly improved. Every attack he unleashes at this moment is comparable to the strongest attack, sky-breaking cone, he used to defeat Daimler. But in front of this golden chamber, such a powerful attack was useless. Bang! Renault knelt weakly in the secret room. 1 year, Renault murmured to himself. Although he was full of confidence in his talent in the gold system, his experience in the previous two styles made him understand that the one-year third assessment would be. It shows that it is very difficult to break through this secret room. If he knew that Jason was safe, it wouldn't matter if he kept him practicing in this secret room. Renault could feel that in this secret room, his training was 10 times faster than in the outside world, not to mention that he could learn so much powerful and profound metal skills. However, he didn't know what happened to Jason. Once Jason does something good, what can he do no matter how much he gains? In the face of opportunities and treasures, Jason and Renault, the father and son, first thought not of benefits, but of each other's safety on the stairs. After sitting quietly for a long time, Jason stood up and stood on the stairs, pacing up and down. Sooner or later, this kid will get impatient. Let's see what tricks he can do. In the square, Daimler and others were sitting cross-legged with a sneer on their lips. They are very patient. After walking back and forth for a long time, Jason sat down cross-legged again and began to try to mobilize the spiritual power in his body. However, the result is obvious. In the forbidden spirit realm, the spiritual power in his body cannot be mobilized at all. Even the trace of fire power brought by absorbing the holy beast immortal fire phoenix is as silent as a pool of stagnant water. Suddenly, Jason saw the strange black power in his body. By some strange coincidence, Jason actually tried to mobilize this power that he had never been able to mobilize before. Something that shocked Jason happened. The strange black power began to slowly move under Jason's control. At the same time, an inexplicable feeling came from the unknown place deep in the clouds at the end of the stairs. It seemed that there was something there, calling Jason faintly. Jason stood up suddenly with surprise on his face. Look, what's going on with this kid? Jason's actions attracted the attention of Daimler, Herbert and others in the square. This feeling? Jason frowned, with surprise in his eyes. There was an indescribable weird feeling, as if there was some mysterious power stirring up his mind, making him feel eager to rush into the depths of the clouds to meet with them. Jason raised his head, and deep in the clouds, stairs were looming, giving people a sense of mystery and elusiveness. However, I advise you not to go deep. Once you enter the depths of the stairs, you will die. The warning words of God-killer Nadim still echoed in Jason. In his mind, Jason had a smile on his face. He didn't know why he felt this way, but at this moment, he had already made a decision in his heart. He took a step forward and walked up the stairs toward the depths of the stairs. Walking slowly, he quickly disappeared from the sight of Daimler and others. This kid was very patient before and sat cross-legged in the square. Daimler and others could no longer bear it. They suddenly stood up, their eyes flashing. This kid is really brave, he actually dares to walk up the stairs. But Nadim said that if you enter the depths of the stairs, you will be dead. Don't you think this kid doesn't want his life? What? Daimler's sonorous voice sounded in the square, but there was a look of surprise in his eyes. Clara on the side couldn't help feeling speechless, and thought to herself, with us here, can he survive after walking out of the forbidden spirit realm? Is it done? Elder Daimler, please be patient. Herbert's face was calm. The god-killing Nadim said that if you go into the depths of the stairs, you will die, but who knows how many steps you have to walk up. Even deep down, maybe that kid is hiding on some stairs in the clouds, waiting for us to leave. Daimler was startled. What Herbert said was not impossible. Daimler immediately said, sitting down cross-legged again, the spiritual power in his body began to circulate and practice. On the stairs, Jason's figure was elegant, and he continued to move towards the top. The stairs were all paved with white jade, more than 10 meters wide, and the length extended to the end of the line of sight. Then God-killer Nadim said that if you enter the depths of the stairs, you will die without any chance of survival. However, how come I haven't found any danger until now? Jason's face was filled with doubts, but in his heart, he did not relax at all. He was wary of the feeling calling him, but it became more and more intense as Jason walked up the stairs. Suddenly, a trace of black air flowed past Jason's line of sight. Jason was startled. He stopped suddenly and said, "What was that just now?" Jason looked at it intently and saw a black air flow flashing from time to time on the white jade stairs. The black air flow, just a little bit of it, caused the 7th level low-level imperial spiritual masters like Nixon to be instantly wiped out. Jason's brows frowned deeply. He had clearly felt the power of the black air flow before. Even Nixon and the others died below without any resistance. Jason didn't think his body could. No wonder the god-killing Nadim said that if you enter the depths of the stairs, you will die and there will be no life. Jason's mouth showed a wry smile. "What should we do? Can we just go back?" There was a trace of reluctance on Jason's face. There was no way to survive if he went back, but there was also a dead end ahead. Jason couldn't make a choice. Huh? Suddenly, Jason seemed to he saw something. His eyes fell not far away, staring there, but in his heart, he was silently counting the seconds. A black airflow suddenly appeared where Jason was staring. Then the bait disappeared quickly. This is Jason's face immediately showed a look of ecstasy. He discovered that these black airflows did not seem to appear randomly, but followed some unique pattern. Patterns and cycles. If ordinary people were called over, even an 8th level peak imperial spiritual master like Wayne would never notice such extremely subtle patterns. Looking around, some black objects would appear from time to time on the stairs leading all the way forward. The airflow, the entire staircase is so long, and the number of black airflows is an extremely terrifying number. Who can notice when the airflow will appear on which step, and which step will appear immediately after? But Jason, the pioneer of technical flow medicine, the elixir master, who specializes in observing the subtle manifestations of the reaction of elixirs, discovered this secret inadvertently. Since the mutual appearance of these black air flows has certain unique rules, is it possible for me to avoid them through these rules? Where does this black air flow go up the stairs? Jason couldn't help but think about it. As soon as this idea came up, it was out of control in Jason's mind. The strong feeling of calling on the stairs, and out of his strong confidence in himself, he started to sit cross-legged on the stairs and quietly looked at all the stairs he could see. Black air currents flashed and disappeared on different steps, and Jason was completely immersed in memory. 1 hour passed, 2 hours passed, 3 hours passed, 1 minute passed. A second passed, and a large amount of sweat flowed from Jason's forehead. His face gradually showed a look of pain, and his body began to tremble slightly. No. He stood up suddenly, looking pale and observing for a long time, which made him it was finally determined that these black airflows are indeed regular, but there are too many black airflows on the entire staircase. This is an extremely huge data, so huge that it is impossible to calculate 100 changes. Jason can remember 1,000. Jason can also change 10,000 kinds of changes. Jason can also memorize them through long-term observation. But what about 100,000 kinds, 1 million kinds, 10 million kinds, or even 100 million kinds? With Jason's current strength and brain, he still can't record all these data clearly in your mind, and as long as you remember one place incorrectly, you will die. This is not a game. Jason clenched his hands, a little pale. The saddest thing in life is not that he cannot solve the problem, but that he has found it. A way to solve the problem, but found that his ability was not enough. Jason had a wry smile on his face. In fact, if it weren't for the flash of 2 black airflows at the beginning, which looked like some kind of numerical law, Jason might not have been able to discover that the black airflow was regular. But now, he found the pattern but couldn't remember it. Instead, he couldn't remember it. It was painful at first. Jason couldn't help but shake his head and sighed secretly. Suddenly, he seemed to be stunned when he thought of something. Some kind of number law? A light seemed to flash through Jason's mind. However, his brows tightened, recalling the pattern of the appearance of black airflow that he had remembered before. Suddenly, Jason's eyes suddenly widened, and an expression of disbelief appeared on his face, the pattern of the appearance of black airflow. He suddenly stared at the black airflow that appeared on a certain step, and then looked at several other steps. On those steps, a black airflow appeared immediately after. Jason opened his mouth wide. It turned out to be Avogadro's law, he murmured in his mouth, his eyes fixed on the changes on the stairs. Every change was within his expectation. Jason was horrified by the pattern of the black airflow. It can be completely deduced using Avogadro's law in elixir science. Avogadro's law is a wonderful elixir problem. It was discovered from an ancient elixir book and gradually became known to all elixir masters in the entire continent. When Avogadro's law came out, elixir masters across the entire continent were crazy about it, because according to the records in that ancient book, it was said that as long as you fully master Avogadro's law, you can perfectly master elixir science. However, the result is that it makes all elixir masters extremely discouraged. It contains 1,080 formulas, but these 1,080 formulas are all connected, forming a perfect cycle with no starting point. If the elixir master can fully grasp this law, he can deduce the most primitive arrangement, and this most primitive arrangement is said to contain a certain truth of elixir science. But the most wonderful thing about this law is that everyone who can master it can. Its elixir masters have different original arrangements of vertebrae derivation, which results in Avogadro's law being unable to pass through practice. Even if an elixir master tells you his experience, you still need to start from scratch, learn bit by bit, and finally base your own derivation on it. To complete the cycle, the important thing is that the original arrangement obtained by everyone is different, and everyone thinks that their original arrangement is correct. This debate has never ended in the science of elixirs. In that era, countless elixirs it was to study Avogadro's law assiduously, but the final result was the discovery of Avogadro's law. From the beginning, it was hailed as an entire leap in mainland spiritual medicine, and finally became one of the top 10 most important achievements in the history of mainland spiritual medicine. One of the absurd discoveries, Jason in his previous life had naturally learned the famous Avogadro's law. However, unlike everyone else, he had no spiritual knowledge in his previous life and could not deduce this law, so naturally he could not obtain it. The original arrangement was revealed. Therefore, although Jason memorized some of the rules of the appearance of black airflow at first, he did not think about Avogadro's law. But now, the black airflow in front of him made him regain his memory. Jason quickly walked into the stairs. The black airflow kept disillusioning, but Jason's footsteps were fast, and formulas kept appearing in his mind. Combined with the appearance of the black airflow in front of him, the entire Avogadro's law was being deduced in his mind at this moment. And those black air currents are no longer the scythes of death, but like Jason's mentor in spiritual medicine. Once Jason finds that Avogadro's law cannot be deduced anymore and a difficult situation arises, Jason will be given a reminder. To be continued. The stairs seemed to be endless, soaring into the sky, spreading to the end of the world. As soon as Jason walked on this ladder, for more than 20 days, all of Jason's mind was immersed in Avogadro's law. During the derivation, his energy was unprecedentedly concentrated. Every time he successfully deduced a formula, Jason would sit down cross-legged and silently sort out all the previous formulas. Because he had completely mastered the previous rules, as long as he did not move forward rashly, those regular rules would appear. The black air flow could not hurt Jason at all. At this moment, Jason did not realize that as he understood Avogadro's law more and more deeply, his spiritual consciousness and mental power also increased. It is growing rapidly, but because he is now in the forbidden spirit realm, his spiritual consciousness cannot be released, so it is difficult to detect when Jason is running quickly on the stairs, the boom of the square, one green and one white. The rays of light collided together instantly, rippling across the square, and bursts of explosions could be heard in the air. Haha, this low-level wood-type guardian armor is really powerful, Herbert. How can you bear with me now? Daimler's laughter came from the sky. Daimler, don't be arrogant. Your Earth-level low-level defensive weapon is good, but the Moon-level weapon I got the low-grade light-based skills are not vegetarian, but this improves my overall strength. Herbert also stood proudly aside, with white light crisscrossing his body, and his strength was overwhelming. During these 20 days, Daimler and others everyone entered the 7-colored light door, took the assessment, and received rewards, respectively. What Daimler obtained was a set of low-grade Earth-grade wooden defensive spiritual weapons, while what Herbert obtained was a volume of low-grade Moon-grade exercises. As for Patriarch Clara, she obtained it just like Patriarch Reagan. It is an advanced Shanpin light attack weapon. The acquisition of these treasures has greatly improved the strength of Daimler and others. Daimler is guarding the stairs to prevent Jason from escaping. Daimler and others continued to spar and practice in this square, and they were able to touch a trace of the barrier of the 7th-level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master. This made Daimler and others extremely ecstatic. This Jace entered the second step of the stairs. There has been no news for more than 10 days. Will he die inside? In 2 days, the 1-month deadline will come. If we don't go out, the poisonous mist outside the death maze will gather again by then. Daimler frowned. The poisonous mist deep in the cloud swamp is extremely powerful. When the concentration increases, even 7th-level Imperial spiritual masters like Daimler will have no chance of escaping. Herbert frowned as well. He frowned and nodded. It's not an option for us to guard like this, why not go in together? Go in together. Daimler couldn't help but trembled. The miserable look of Ronald being beaten by Jason was still vivid in his mind. A few days after Jason entered it, Ronald's body was taken out by Daimler and the others, and was burned to ashes by Reagan. Although everyone's strength has improved these days, for Jason Na's abnormal strength in the Forbidden Spirit realm still felt a little apprehensive. Humph, I don't believe it. With so many of us going in together, we would still be afraid of that little Jace. Herbert snorted coldly. Turning his attention to Reagan, the patriarch of the Bihara family, Reagan's heart couldn't help but an ominous premonition emerged from his mind. Reagan, you are the first one to go in. Sure enough, Herbert said out loud, with a wry smile on Reagan's face. Even though he had obtained a high-grade Shanpin spiritual weapon, after everyone had received their rewards, his strength was still the same. At the bottom, there was no way to disobey Herbert's order. Reagan didn't waste any words. He walked into the stairs first, and then walked deeper. Daimler, Clara, let's talk, Herbert said, and the 3 of them following Reagan from a distance, he also walked into the stairs. If Jason was waiting for them deep in the stairs, as long as Reagan was the first to notice, Herbert and others who were following behind would have time to escape back to the square. After all, although there are clouds and mist on the stairs, most places are completely white. Jason can't hide his body at all. He sneak attacks on everyone. It seems that this Jace is really dead. A moment later, where the black airflow appeared, in front of a flight of stairs, everyone's faces were filled with horror and they were silent all the way. They were so careful that they didn't notice Jason's body at all, but there was that powerful black airflow deep inside. Everyone thought that they must have died under the black airflow. After all, the black airflow is a terrifying existence that will kill them instantly if they come into contact with it. Damn, that kid is so easy. He died under this black airflow. If he falls into my hands, he must be tortured to death. Daimler said angrily, let's go. Herbert turned and walked towards the square. His face was also a little sad, not because of Jason's death, but because he felt sorry for the things on Jason's body. That is a priceless space ring and a large number of elixirs and materials. It's a pity, it's a pity. In an open space outside the death maze, suddenly, a white light suddenly lit up, and 4 figures appeared in the white light. It was Herbert and the 4 who looked back at the majestic death maze behind them, feeling reaching the red poisonous mist that began to gradually thicken. Herbert and others flew towards the outskirts of the cloud swamp because they were attacked by a group of eagle-eyed griffins, iron-backed sword mantises, and golden-horned giant beasts. When they went back, Herbert and others were extremely cautious. However, when they flew out of the red poisonous fog area and arrived at the outskirts of the cloud swamp, they did not encounter any danger. This made them put down their worries. Behind Liao Xian, the red poisonous mist became thicker, and finally completely filled the depths of the cloud swamp. Haha, let's go back. Herbert looked up to the sky and laughed loudly, with such heroic spirit that he was forced to die this time. Although the trip to the maze is 100% thrilling, the benefits obtained are definitely worth the money. The important thing is that of the 9 major families in the territory of chaos, only the Bella family and the Pear family are left. And the Baiyuan family where Reagan belongs. Haha, the territory of chaos, welcome your era. Herbert was extremely excited. The 4 of them were like 4 shooting stars, each with their own thoughts, flying towards the city of chaos. After a series of earth-shaking and earth-shattering changes, it will be born in the territory of chaos, but the mantis stalks the cicada and the oriole is behind. All of this, no one knows who is doing the wedding for whom. On the latter, one formula after another emerged in Jason's mind, and the construction was completed, and Jason was there are also 800 formulas for rapid progress on the stairs, 900 formulas, 8,000 formulas. When Jason deduced the 1,000th formula, his speed had greatly regressed compared with the initial flying forward. At this moment, Jason, every step he took required a long period of thinking. He looked at the surroundings. Everything he felt no longer felt, and even the appearance of the black airflow could not help him in the slightest. Instead, it caused great trouble to Jason because the pattern of the black airflow completely subverted the previous derivation. For example, there is one of the simplest basic axioms in Avogadro's law. Jason used this simplest basic axiom to deduce, and everything went very smoothly. However, when he deduced the 1,000th one, the existence of formulas that have been verified as axioms in the past is wrong. It is like a junior high school student just learning chemistry. The teacher taught him that sodium bicarbonate is alkaline and hydrochloric acid is acidic. When the two are combined, the acid and alkali will neutralize. Sen is like that junior high school student, and acid-base neutralization is the simplest axiom. The first experiments show that acid-base neutralization is correct, but when the experiment reaches the end, one acid and one base, the combination of the two substances, not only failed to neutralize, but instead became acidic or alkaline. This completely impossible situation actually appeared in front of Jason, but Jason was completely confused. He raised his head. A huge palace loomed at the end of the stairs, giving people a feeling of being hard to look at. Seeing that he was about to reach the end of the stairs, Jason could not derive the 1,001st formula successfully. What should I do? Do we still have to fall short after reaching this point? Jason's heart was filled with deep reluctance. No, he shook his head vigorously, with a trace of determination in his eyes. Whoosh! Jason's figure suddenly broke into the last flight of stairs, and countless black air currents were looming. However, Jason relied on his keen intuition and knowledge of Avogadro's law and 1,000 formulas before. With understanding, Jason was walking carefully on the stairs at this moment, like a dancer beating on the tip of a knife. If he is not careful, he is very likely to die under a sudden black airflow. It's close. It's close. The huge palace was already in front of him. Jason was suppressing ecstasy in his heart, and his body flashed on the stairs. Although he was extremely puzzled by the trajectory of these black airflows, Jason still remained calm. He firmly remembered the location of each black airflow in his mind. In Jason's mind, he vaguely felt that the locations of these black airflows were all correct, and the reason why he couldn't deduce it was because of this. He didn't understand the mystery of Gadro's law thoroughly enough. A black airflow suddenly appeared beside Jason. Jason ducked and his waist suddenly became an arch. He barely managed to dodge it. two black airflows quietly appeared at the soles of Jason's feet. However, Jason observed its movements very keenly. With one flyby, the limit was crossed. Along the way, Jason almost swam back and forth between life and death. If he was not careful, he might disappear. Whoosh! Finally, Jason, after crossing the last staircase, he even saw the three divine medicine halls with large golden characters above the huge palace. But before his face showed joy, he was horrified to see a stream of black air flowing out of nowhere. Quietly appeared on his right arm, and quickly wrapped around his right arm. It's over. Jason's face was full of horror, and he only had time to think of such a thought. An irresistible force instantly passed through his right arm and entered his body. No, Jason said in despair. The cry is not over yet, to be continued. The powerful power contained in the black air flow instantly entered Jason's body. This is an indescribable force, full of powerful pressure, aura of destruction, and extremely sharp and powerful. Although there is only a trace of this power, in Jason's feeling, under such a trace of power, he is like an ant in the ice and snow. It is difficult to resist. This powerful power can instantly turn him into the power of ashes. No, Jason let out an earth-shattering cry in his heart. His will was concentrated like never before, and his survival instinct caused all the spiritual power in his body to instantly riot. Boom! At this moment, all the spiritual power in Jason's body was mobilized crazily, blocking that trace of power instantly. However, what makes Jason despair is that his fourth-level low-level heavenly spirit power, which is like a roaring and rushing river, melts and disappears instantly like white snow under the scorching sun after encountering that power, unable to stop the opponent at all. Clang! A sharp and sonorous chirping sounded in the sky above Jason's spiritual sea. At such a critical moment, the shadow of the immortal fire phoenix instantly floated above Jason's head without Jason's control. At the same time, Jason's body absorbed the fire power that captured the soul of the immortal fire phoenix, quietly appeared in Jason's body, intercepting the terrifying power of destruction. The immortal fire phoenix is a 9th-level holy beast, and this power of fire is the immortal fire that was inherited from the soul and will of the immortal fire phoenix when Jason absorbed its spiritual heart, and finally lurked in Jason's body. The power of the phoenix. When Jason was absorbing the spiritual heart of the immortal fire phoenix, even Wayne, who was an 8th-level imperial spiritual master, was helpless in the face of the power of this holy beast, the immortal fire phoenix. This shows how powerful this power is. Now, at the moment of Jason's life and death, the power of this immortal fire phoenix finally appeared to protect the master. Jason didn't have time to rejoice. Boom! The power of the 9th-level holy beast immortal fire phoenix collided with the terrifying force of destruction. When the two forces came into contact, the power of the immortal fire phoenix was as powerful as if vulnerable. He collapsed instantly. This is the power of the 9th-level holy beast, the immortal fire phoenix. Jason only had time to flash a thought like this in his mind. He seemed to see that every cell and element in his body collapsed and was destroyed in the next moment. The whole person instantly turned into nothingness. Just when all this was about to come true, a will to dominate the world suddenly rose from Jason. In the forbidden spirit realm, under the operation of the spirit god Ard, the will that had been slowly running in Jason's body, the strange black power, suddenly boiled. It was like an emperor who saw that the people under his rule were in dire straits. The rage of an emperor roaring and crying ghosts instantly filled every corner of Jason's body. A strange scene appeared. The terrifying power that could instantly defeat even the power of the 9th-level holy beast immortal fire phoenix. After feeling the will of the strange black power in Jason's body, it was as if he had seen the emperor's minister. When he saw the master's servant, he immediately exited Jason's body in horror. After the black air flow exited Jason's body, it flashed slightly and then dissipated into the air. It all sounds like a long story, but it actually happened in an instant. Jason didn't even have time to think about it, and it was all over. Huh. After a long while, Jason let out a long breath, with a frightened expression on his face. His legs were slightly weak, his face was pale, and his back was covered in cold sweat, as if it was wet under the rain. Although Jason had died once 3,000 years ago, when that kind of death came to him again, the feeling of being unable to resist and almost certain to die still shocked Jason's heart in an unimaginable way. Between life and death, there is great terror. After a long time, Jason smiled bitterly. Although this feeling of touching the edge of life and death is of great benefit to a spiritual master's improvement, breakthrough, and enlightenment, this kind of powerlessness Jason really didn't like the feeling. People may like stimulation, but if it goes too far, they are seeking death. Jason felt his body carefully and found that although he had stepped out of the stairs at this moment, the forbidden spirit realm still existed in this square. After calming down a little, Jason's eyes fell on the palace in front of him. During the previous tense process, Jason only glanced at the palace briefly, but now he looked at it carefully. Seeing this, Jason couldn't help but be shocked. The palace standing in front of him didn't look very big, nor was it too exquisitely built, but the shock to Jason was much greater than when he first saw the Jintong Palace. The jade carvings on the railings of the entire palace exude a strong aura of spiritual power. They are made of a large piece of jade. The whole body is crystal clear, but there is a faint milky white color inside. There seems to be spiritual power lingering in it, giving people a sense of spiritual power. A hazy feeling. Void crystal, Jason's eyes widened and he murmured. The main material that makes up this divine medicine palace is actually a large piece of void crystal, and the three words divine medicine palace that shine with magnificent light seem to be made of finely polished sun flame crystals. The palace, the black jade rocks surrounding the bottom are probably dragon-scale secret iron that can drive the top spiritual craftsmen on the mainland crazy. This extravagant architectural style is enough to drive Jason crazy just thinking about it. He was a 9th-level person in his previous life. As a master of elixirs, he can definitely not be regarded as someone who has never seen the big world, but whether it is void crystals, sun flame crystals, or dragon-scale secret iron, they are all extremely precious spiritual materials in the Stern continent, but here, it is regarded as the most common building material. If the materials consumed by such a huge palace were converted into spiritual coins, it would probably be enough to buy the entire Northwest Kingdom. In Jason's opinion, luxury is no longer enough to describe it. What kind of status do you need to be worthy of this palace? Jason's eyes were dull and he whispered, looking at the words Divine Medicine Palace. He stepped forward. Jason could feel that the mysterious power that constantly summoned him was in this Divine Medicine Palace. Jason gently came to the blue door. The entire door was blue and made of a rare piece of blue dragon jade. Jason was already extremely numb to this. If it weren't for the fact that these things were only rare materials for making spiritual weapons, alchemy, and inscriptions, and were not very useful in elixir science, and there were no tools to take them out, Jason might have pounced on them, knocked off a piece, and taken them out. Pushing the door open, Jason walked into the palace very lightly. Originally, in Jason's imagination, the interior of such a luxurious palace must be extremely luxurious, just like the palace of a country. The interior should give people a feeling of splendor, wealth, and magnificence. But when Jason walked in, he discovered that the layout of the entire palace was extremely ordinary, which could even be described as simple. There were no extraneous furnishings, just a hall and several surrounding rooms. Of course, the luxurious materials inside, not inferior to the outside. Jason stepped into a room, which was a room of hundreds of square meters. There were rows of translucent jade cabinets in it, and there were all kinds of things in the cabinets. Jason gently opened the first cabinet. When he saw the contents inside, his eyes widened instantly, and there was an expression of disbelief on his face. This is 9-colored flower lotus. Jason was so excited that he could hardly speak. Inside are 3 fossilized herbs. Each herb has 9 lotus heads, and each lotus head has a fruit the size of a mung bean, which is the original 9-color flower lotus. In terms of elixir level, this 9-color flower lotus is much rarer than the 8th level ice spirit holy fruit and the Tai Sui wood between the 8th and 9th levels. It is a true 9th level holy medicine, that is, it is the same as the 9th level holy medicine. The giant dragon spirit core is generally rare. It is said that even if the 9-color lotus is not mixed into a spiritual potion, just taking the 9 lotus seeds on the head after it is mature can increase the strength of a spiritual master by 3 levels. Yes, you read that right, a full 3 levels. It takes 1,000 years for these 9-color flower lotuses to grow and mature. Even Jason in his previous life had never seen these 9-color flower lotuses, but now, he saw 3 of them here. Oh, it's a pity, it's a pity. Jason couldn't help but shook his head in frustration. These 3 9-color flower lotuses have all turned into rock-like fossils at this moment. Jason can feel that all the medicinal effects and spiritual power in them have been lost, and this loss does not seem to disappear due to the passage of time. It seemed as if something had absorbed the medicinal power out of thin air. This made Jason, an elixir master, feel extremely heartbroken. Immediately afterwards, Jason opened the second cabinet with great expectation. In the second cabinet is a fruit that has turned into a rock. The peel has pits and pits, as if it is inlaid with 5 pointed stars of various sizes. 5-ray star fruit, Jason said in shock. Another 9th level holy medicine, this 5-light star fruit has even more miraculous effects. It is said that it can make an 8th level advanced light emperor spiritual master break through to a 9th level holy spirit master in one fell swoop after taking it. Unfortunately, this 5-ray star fruit also turned into a fossil, and all its medicinal effects were lost. Jason touched it lightly and the whole thing turned into ashes. It's not like the effect of the medicine has passed away naturally, but it's like it's been absorbed by something strange. Jason was even more confused. With his knowledge of elixirs, he could feel a clue. He couldn't wait to open the third cabinet. This is a dragon-shaped herb, with beards, legs, eyes, and even dense dragon scales on the stem, which slowly become lifelike, giving people a feeling that they are about to fly into the sky. The 9th level holy medicine, dragon transformation grass. Jason felt like he was so shocked that he was almost numb. But it is a pity that the medicinal power in it has also been exhausted, and it has become a useless fossil. Jason's eyes fell on the remaining jade cabinets in the entire room, which included no less than 1,000 large and small ones. Isn't it possible that everything here is a 9th level holy medicine? Jason felt incredible in his heart. He quickly opened the remaining cabinets one by one. Displayed in these jade cabinets are some extremely rare elixirs and herbs. Almost all of them are 9th level holy medicines, and occasionally there are 2 special 8th level elixirs. But without exception, these elixirs have become fossils and have no effect at all. With a light touch, they turn into ashes and dissipate into the air, leaving no trace. Isn't it true that all the elixirs in the cabinets in the entire room are useless? Jason couldn't help but thought. He quickly opened all the remaining cabinets, but the result was extremely disappointing. So many rare herbs were all turned into fossils, and there was not a single living thing. This finally convinced Jason that these materials definitely did not lose their efficacy due to the passage of time. An elixir, especially a 9th level elixir, takes an extremely long time to grow. Even the 8th level ice spirit sacred fruit takes hundreds of years to mature, while a 9th level elixir like 9-colored flower lotus takes thousands of years to mature. The time to mature is actually considered short in years. Some elixirs may even take thousands of years to mature. The extremely long age also illustrates another point: the longer it can be stored. Just like the ice spirit sacred fruit, if it is stored in 10,000 years of black ice, there is no problem in preserving it for thousands of years. And for magical species like Tai Sui Mu, even if it is thrown directly into the air, it can be preserved for thousands of years. Not rotten for years. At first, Jason thought that these materials might have become fossils because they were too long to be preserved. After all, the Stern continent has lost the legend of spiritual gods thousands of years ago, and this god killing Nadi as a spiritual god Mu should have been a person from at least 10,000 years ago. But after discovering that all the elixirs had turned into fossils, Jason was sure that the efficacy of these elixirs had all been extracted by something, leaving only the outer shell, which finally became fossils. This result made Jason feel extremely disappointed, but at the same time, he also made a discovery that shocked Jason in his heart. Most of the elixirs in the jade cabinet in the entire room were known to Jason, and there were also a small number that Jason, as his identity, had never known. This made Jason feel unbelievable. Who is Jason? In his previous life, he was the first person on the mainland in elixir science, especially in materials science. Jason's attainments have reached a level of proficiency and almost perfection. There are very few elixirs that he doesn't recognize. If you take out a thick book of Chinese spiritual medicine materials, Jason can even recite it for you from beginning to end, and he can also tell you some pharmacological properties that are not recorded in the book, but in this room among them, Jason did not recognize a small part of the elixirs. This was something that Jason himself could not imagine before. House of Divine Medicine, Palace of Divine Medicine. Jason stood in the room and murmured to himself. The name of this palace was so real. Although the elixirs that Jason knew in this room were basically 9th-level holy medicines and could not be called miracle medicines, with so many holy medicines gathered together, it would not be an exaggeration to call it the Temple of Divine Medicines. By the way, there are the remaining rooms, and the mysterious feeling that attracted me. After standing in the first room for a moment, Jason recovered from the shock and regret. After entering the palace, the mysterious attraction that came from the palace before disappeared. Jason quickly walked into the second room. This second room was the same as the first one, with a row of jade cabinets. In the second room, the jade cabinets also contained some elixirs. After opening all the cabinets, Jason discovered that all the elixirs in this room had also become fossils and lost their original efficacy. There seems to be something different in the third room. It is also made of jade material, and Jason does not know these jade materials. However, Jason can feel that the jade cabinet in this third room is better than the first one. The ones in the second room appear to be more refined and rare. There is also a huge difference in the number of cabinets. There are nearly 1,000 cabinets in each of the first and second rooms, but there are only dozens of cabinets in the third room. Moreover, Jason didn't recognize any of the elixirs in the dozens of cabinets. And just by looking at the shape and momentum of the herbs, Jason felt that the herbs in the third room seemed to be better than those in the previous two rooms. The ones that come out are more powerful and rare. Rare than the 9th-level holy medicine? Are you kidding me? Jason himself felt unbelievable. If these herbs are all living things, Jason can still tell something based on the medicinal properties of the herbs. But unfortunately, these dozens of extraordinary elixirs have all become fossils, and they can be easily erased when touched. It is decay dissipating into the air. Jason walked into the fourth room again. The entire fourth room was huge, except for a jade platform about 3 meters long and wide placed in the middle. However, the jade platform was empty, and he didn't know the reason why. What did the owner put on it? There are only 6 rooms in the entire Divine Medicine Palace. After leaving the fourth room, Jason walked into the fifth room. However, once inside, Jason was shocked. Isn't this the elixir's laboratory? Jason's eyes looked a little dull. This fifth room is a standard elixir's laboratory. There are various cabinets and devices for storing materials, as well as an experimental table. However, all the instruments and materials in this laboratory have been cleaned. Empty, nothing left. Hey, what is this? At this moment, Jason suddenly saw what seemed to be a line of small writing on the wall beside him. Jason immediately stepped forward and looked at it intently. This line of small characters looks like a formula in elixir science. It seems that the owner of this laboratory left it casually after thinking of something while doing experiments on elixir medicine. Jason immediately wanted to take a closer look at the content of the formula, but when he looked at it like this, boom, a powerful momentum that could break the sky came from the line of small words, as if it was from the sky. The falling meteors instantly blasted into Jason's mind. Jason only felt a tremor in his soul. A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. Jason's face instantly turned extremely pale, and he fell to the ground with a thud. Jason had a look of extreme horror on his face, and a lot of sweat dripped from his forehead. He turned his head hastily, never daring to look at the formula again. This line of formulas left randomly by others seemed to contain some kind of supreme law and doctrine. The endless powerful aura pressed over him instantly, making Jason suffocate. Fortunately, Jason's soul was strong enough to withstand the pressure of this momentum, but he was still a little shaken. If a 7th-level low-level imperial spiritual master like Pierre went to see it, under the pressure of this aura, his soul would be instantly confused and he would become a complete idiot. Here, who is the owner of this divine medicine palace? Is that god-killing Nadim actually a spiritual medicine master stronger than himself? Jason couldn't help but be shocked. From the moment he entered this death maze, Jason discovered that this death maze seemed to be specially built for elixir masters. Even if it was not, it was closely related to elixir masters. The huge 9 spirits chi-gathering formation on the outermost periphery is clearly the foundation of the entire mansion and is used by elixir masters to cultivate extremely precious elixirs. The Avogadro's law on the stairs is even more powerful for elixir masters. Only in this way could Jason be able to arrange it, and Jason was extremely shocked by this divine medicine palace. All these indicate that the mansion of the god-killing Nadim should be related to an extremely powerful elixir. It is even possible that this elixir is the god-killing Nadim himself. However, the words carved on various stone tablets by the god-killing Nadim and the voice left in this mansion never mentioned anything related to the elixir, which made Jason feel extremely puzzled. If the god-killing Nadim was really an elixir, he would at least reveal some information intentionally or unintentionally. This was simply unavoidable, but Jason didn't feel it at all. Since I can't figure it out, I won't think about it. Jason was also very happy. He left the 5th room and walked towards the last room. As soon as he walked in, Jason discovered that this 6th room was actually a bedroom. As soon as he walked through the door of the palace, Jason felt an extremely strong call in his heart, calling him to move forward. Jason walked in quickly and saw a white jade table placed in the center of the dormitory, and in the center of the table, a golden ball similar to the size of a tennis ball was suspended in the air. This golden ball was spinning leisurely, exuding a mysterious power, attracting Jason, and the strange black power in Jason's body was running faster at this moment. Is this? Jason was a little overwhelmed by the strange reaction in his body. He was sure that he had never seen this golden ball before, and he had no idea what it did. But the aura exuding from this golden ball made Jason feel a sense of intimacy and familiarity, and Jason couldn't help but reach out and grab it. An incredible scene happened that made Jason feel unbelievable. The moment Jason's right hand just touched the golden ball gradually merged into Jason's palm. At the same time, the strange black power in Jason's body merged with the golden ball without Jason's control. Boom! An inexplicable powerful force burst out instantly in Jason's body. This force was so huge that it instantly hit the sky above Jason's spiritual sea. Under the impact of this force, Jason's soul, which was as powerful as the peak of the holy level, could not bear it and simply passed out. Jason, who was in a coma, did not realize that the moment the golden ball integrated into his body, the entire palace and the omnipresent forbidden spirit realm on the stairs suddenly disappeared, as if they had never appeared. This golden ball seems to be the creator of this forbidden spirit realm. Just as Renaud was working hard to pass the 3rd level in the Jintong Palace, and Jason absorbed the golden ball and fell unconscious, the territory of chaos not far away, at this moment, it was a mess. Some ordinary people in the city of chaos may not be aware of the return of Daimler, Herbert, Clara, and Reagan, but for the other 9 major families in the territory of chaos, they are the first to know about it. got the message. How is it possible Patriarch Linus, he, actually, failed to come out of the death maze in the family hall? Several elders of the Carl family were all sitting around the round table, with shock and disbelief on their faces. These elders of the Carl family are all the leaders of the Carl family. They have basically reached the level of 6th level spiritual masters. 2 of the elders have even reached the 6th level senior spiritual master. For an ordinary family, or for an ordinary big family, such a powerful strength is already enough, but for the Carl family, the 8 major families that have controlled the territory of chaos for hundreds of years, it seems a bit shabby. 7th level imperial spiritualists are the foundation for these 8 major families to establish themselves in the territory of chaos. Hundreds of years ago, several 7th level imperial spiritualists emerged from the Carl family, and the existence of imperial spiritualists has not been cut off for hundreds of years, but now, the disappearance of Patriarch Linus has plunged the Carl family into a huge crisis. Impossible, impossible. Although this death maze is dangerous, for thousands of years, few 7th level imperial spiritual masters have died there, but this time the elders of the Carl family all know about the treasure of the spiritual god. The reason why Linus, as the leader of the clan, is allowed to go is that the treasure of the spiritual god is too shocking, and secondly, although countless people have died in the past thousands of years, in the death maze, the survival rate of 7th level imperial spiritual masters is still extremely high. Very few spiritual masters above the level of 7th level imperial spiritual masters will perish in the death maze. But the news of the death of Patriarch Linus made the entire Carl family instantly confused. What should I do? All the elders of the Carl family who got the news had a blank mind. Great Elder, Patriarch Vincent of the Per family has come to pay his respects at this moment. A family servant hurriedly came outside the hall and reported to the elders present. Patriarch Vincent of the Per family? Several elders present looked at each other with a wry smile on their faces. The other party's visit at this time would definitely be a big deal for the Carl family, which has lost the 7th level imperial spiritual master. Can't be considered a good thing. Ask Patriarch Vincent to wait in the living room, and tell us that we will be there soon. The leader, an old man with a gray beard, spoke out. He was the most powerful elder of the Carl family besides Patriarch Linus. Haha, everyone, no need. Please forgive Vincent for coming here. Outside the hall, a hearty laughter suddenly sounded, and this laughter was full of domineering atmosphere. Patriarch Vincent of the Per family walked out in a hurry. Although his previous words were extremely modest, his look and expression gave people an extremely arrogant feeling. After Patriarch Vincent walked into the meeting hall of the Carl family, he sat down on the first seat that was occupied by Patriarch Linus, but was now empty. Several elders of the Carl family showed a hint of anger on their faces. If Chief Linus was here, although the Per family was one of the top 3 families in the territory of chaos, the Carl family was also in chaos after all. How could Vincent be so arrogant among the 8 major families in his territory? But now Vincent's performance made all the elders present feel a chill in their hearts. However, although everyone present was extremely dissatisfied with Vincent's performance, no one dared to show it on their faces. With the strength of the opponent's 7th level low-level imperial spiritual master, he was enough to massacre his own side with one person. Everyone present. I wonder what kind of advice Patriarch Vincent has when he comes this time. The elder of the Carl family said in a low voice. Vincent looked at everyone present casually, his eyes were sharp and full of unbridled publicity, and he said, I can't give you any advice. I just heard that Linus, the leader of your family, died in the maze of death and lost his life. Such a powerful backer, with the power and property controlled by the Carl family, must be extremely dangerous in this chaotic territory, so I am ready to give you a suggestion. Everyone's eyes fell on Vincent's face. Vincent smiled and said, your Carl family can join our Per family and become a vassal family of our Per family. Our Per family can guarantee that the name of the Carl family will never be banned. And if the Karl family becomes, I am a vassal of the Pear family, and I, the Pear family, also have the right to protect all other families. You, an elder of the Karl family, suddenly stood up, with an angry expression on his face. The elders present are not idiots. The words of Patriarch Vincent clearly mean to take back the entire Karl family. What? Elder, do you have any opinions? Vincent looked at the other party and said with a smile, but his eyes suddenly showed a cold light. Vincent, don't think that we don't know about your wolfish ambitions. Even if I die, I will never give in to you. The elder's face turned red and he spoke angrily. Oh. A faint smile appeared on Vincent's face. As he finished speaking, an unparalleled fiery red sword energy suddenly burst out from Vincent's hand and came to the old man in an instant. Third elder, be careful, someone in the crowd exclaimed. The old man obviously didn't expect that Lecent would dare to attack him in his family's conference hall. He was a low-level 6th-level spiritual master. He was caught off guard. Even though someone warned him, he couldn't react in time. In his shocked eyes, the fiery red sword energy passed directly over the elder's body, splitting the elder in half instantly. The scorching smell of flames burning muscles instantly filled the hall, and everyone's faces turned pale. You, Patriarch Vincent, you have gone too far. Two more elders stood up suddenly, their faces filled with extremely angry expressions, but deep in the anger, there was also a hint of helplessness. Oh, am I going too far? I'm just giving you a suggestion. Everyone in the Karl family present can choose to accept it or not, but I have to explain it in advance. If someone doesn't know how to praise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Vincent T's feet were raised high on the round table, and his eyes looked around with a hint of contempt. When he looked at the two elders, there was even more undisguised, cold murderous intent in his eyes. Arrogant, extremely arrogant. This Vincent didn't pay attention to the elders of the Karl family who were present at all. It seemed that the purpose of his trip was just to give everyone present a notice, not a suggestion. Indeed, with his strength as a 7th-level low-level imperial spiritual master, if he really wanted to fight, he would be able to sweep everyone present. 4th and 5th, you two sit down. Next to Vincent, the elder of the Karl family shouted loudly. Immediately, he set his sights on Vincent beside him. Clan Chief Vincent, on behalf of the Karl family, I am willing to become a vassal of your Pear family. The great elder spoke with a trace of bitter pain on his face. Great elder. Everyone present said anxiously, with a look of disbelief on their faces. Shut up, everyone. The great elder glared at everyone present. In terms of pain, the pain in the heart of the great elder was no less than that of anyone present. He also knew what Vincent meant by becoming a vassal. However, for the safety of the entire family, he had to do it at this moment. Do this. As one of the 8 major families in the territory of chaos, the Karl family is not an ordinary big family in the territory of chaos, but a family that controls most of the power in the entire territory of chaos. Now it has lost its backbone and is facing this piece of fat. Even if the Pear family does not come to rob it, other families will come to rob it. Haha. Vincent's hearty laughter rang out in the conference hall. The great elder deserves to be called the great elder. He is indeed aware of current affairs and courageous. I won't say any more nonsense. I, Vincent, am here just to inform you. After the meeting, people from the Pear family will come to negotiate. At that time, everyone from the Karl family will be asked to cooperate. Otherwise, I don't think I need to tell you the consequences. You should also know, haha, ha ha ha. In the midst of laughter, Vincent left the meeting hall of the Karl family, leaving only a group of extremely painful old men. This kind of thing did not just happen to the Karl family. Within 2 days after Daimler, Herbert and others came back, all the families that were originally the 8 major families in the territory of chaos and now lost the protection of the 7th-level Emperor Spiritual Master, all encountered this situation. The vast majority of families obediently offered up all their family members, rights and property. The Rona family and the Coolidge family became vassals of the Bella family, while the Carl family became vassals of the Per family. The Cage family, which lost their patriarch Nicholas, did not succumb to the warning and coercion of the Per family. Instead, they secretly transferred all the family's property and members out of the territory of chaos. Half a month after Daimler and others returned to the territory of chaos, a battle took place on a trail dozens of miles outside the city of chaos. On one side was the Cage family, one of the 8 original families in the territory of chaos. On the other side is the Per family, one of the 3 major families in the territory of chaos. In that battle, Elder Daimler and Patriarch Vincent of the Per family personally took action. Hundreds of direct members of the Cage family who wanted to secretly escape from the territory of chaos were all slaughtered within an hour. Not a single person was left alive. On the outskirts of the entire chaotic city, there were piles of corpses and streams of blood, which was extremely terrifying. This battle made everyone in the entire territory of chaos pay attention to the changes in several major families in the territory of chaos. However, this bloody storm in the territory of chaos is still not over. At this time in the entire chaos territory, except for the Per family and the Bella family, only 3 families are still surviving. That is the Curie family, one of the 3 major families, and Bayuan, one of the 8 major families, with the leader of the Reagan family, as well as the Kang's family, which was newly promoted to the 9 major families. City of Chaos, in the new mansion of the Kongsi family. Tyson and Gandalf sat in the hall worriedly. It has been a full month since Daimler, the great elder of the Perret family, and others returned to the City of Chaos. During this month, Tyson and Gandalf could not believe Jason and Reno. They all died in the maze of death. In their hearts, Jason and Reno had given them too many surprises in the past few months, especially Jason's power, which gave them even a trace of blind confidence in Jason. This confidence is based on Jason breaking the limits of their imaginations countless times, hitting the end of their minds again and again, and the faint smile and confidence that always hangs on Jason's face whenever he encounters something. After Daimler and others returned, Tyson and Gandalf had been looking forward to the return of Jason and Renault, but as the days passed, their hearts slowly sank. Impossible, impossible, nothing will happen to Master Jace and Master Lei. Chief Tyson muttered to himself as he sat there. I don't believe that Master Jace and Master Lei will die in that death maze. If no one comes out alive, it will be okay, but Daimler and Herbert are back safely, and even the leader of the Baihara family, Reagan, they all came back alive. I definitely don't believe that Master Jace and Master Lei will die in that maze of death. Master Gandalf also had a trace of determination on his face. But even though they believed so firmly in their hearts, the situation in the territory of chaos over the past month had filled both of their hearts with worry. During this month, the entire territory of chaos was at war. Many battles took place in many cities and forces. The changes among big forces such as the 8 major families also caused some small forces under the territory of chaos to suffer. All have undergone earth-shaking changes. At the beginning, some people had no idea what was happening. Waiting for the Chaos City Trading Center, the counters of the 3 major families, the Coolidge family, the Carl family, and the Rona family, disappeared and became vassals of the Bella family and the Perret family. Those families who are 7th-level imperial spiritual masters after the clan leader did not appear, people turned their attention to the pillars of the 8 major families. After many people's investigations, some people were surprised to find that in the month of September, all the 7th-level imperial spiritual masters who gathered in the City of Chaos in August mysteriously disappeared for a month, and starting from October at that time, in the entire Chaos territory, except for Elder Daimler and Patriarch Vincent of the Per family, Elder Herbert and Patriarch Clara of the Bella family, and Patriarch Reagan of the Bayuan family, those from other families. All the 7th-level imperial spiritual masters never appeared again. This discovery immediately made the entire Chaos territory boil. At the same time, some rumors were also spread in the territory of chaos. Countless speculations were circulated in the territory of chaos, making it difficult to tell the truth from the false. When the Coolidge family and others were attacked by the two major families, the Pear family and the Bella family, Gandalf came up with a way to face the crisis. In the past few months following Jason, Gandalf's attainments in elixir science have been greatly improved. In the month since Jason left, he was promoted from the original 5th level low-level elixir master to the 5th level intermediate level. The elixir master. And he, a 5th level intermediate master of elixirs, released a public message in the City of Chaos preparing elixirs for free for all ordinary people in the entire territory of chaos. As soon as this news came out, all the people in the territory of chaos immediately became excited. A 5th level intermediate elixir master can be regarded as an extremely powerful existence in the territory of chaos. Under normal circumstances, only the original 8 major families have such powerful elixir masters. Ordinary people in the territory of chaos usually think it takes a lot of effort to prepare a bottle of elixir, and the only ones that can be hired are some weak elixir masters. Nowadays, there is a 5th level intermediate elixir master who is willing to prepare elixirs for everyone for free. This news makes everyone feel unbelievable. At the beginning, only a few people came to Gandalf with some not particularly good materials to prepare some low-level elixirs. Gandalf did not refuse at all, but took them all and prepared them on the same day. Handed it over to the other party. With this first person to eat crabs, it naturally attracted more people behind. After countless people learned that the announcement issued by Gandalf was true, they all swarmed in with materials and destroyed the mansion of the Khan's family. It was packed. And the reason why Gandalf did this was quite helpless. He knew that without Jason and Reno, the Perret family would definitely target him and Tyson. He could only get the benefits by tying the interests of all the people in Chaos City to himself. A moment of respite. Okay, Tyson, continue to slowly throw out the power that your family has gained because Master Jace and Master Lay have become the 9th largest family in the territory of chaos. I'm going to prepare elixirs for those people. I believe that Master Jace and Master Thunder will be fine, they will definitely leave us two behind. Gandalf stood up and spoke with a tired look on his face. Although 1 month of continuous preparation greatly improved his level of elixir medicine, it also put his body in a severe overdraft and made him extremely tired. But what did Gandalf have to do? Only in this way can he and Tyson continue to persevere in this chaotic city. Boom! Just before Gandalf walked out of the hall, a huge roar suddenly came from the backyard of the mansion, and then an extremely arrogant voice rumbled over the Khan's family's mansion. Gandalf, Tyson, you two, get out of here. Gandalf and Tyson's expressions changed, and they rushed out of the hall and came to the courtyard. Above the sky of the mansion, Patriarch Vincent of the Purr family was wearing a fiery red robe, looking coldly at Gandalf and Tyson below. It's you, Vincent. Gandalf and Tyson looked at a huge pit in the yard in front of them, with extremely angry expressions on their faces. Both of them knew in their hearts that what was supposed to come after the Purr family solved the two major families, the Carl family and the Cage family, had finally come. Haha, it's me. Vincent fell from the sky, turned his fiery red right palm down, and an extremely powerful fire spiritual power immediately aimed at the two of them and surged away. Boom! In front of Vincent's 7th level low-level fire spiritual power, Gandalf, a 5th level intermediate spiritual master, and Tyson, a 5th level senior spiritual master, could not resist even a single move. It was thrown heavily and blood spurted out from the mouth. It fell in the yard like a rag bag, with blood at the corner of its mouth, pale face, and a depressed expression. In the outer courtyard of Master Gandalf, all the people who were waiting for Gandalf to prepare the elixir suddenly rushed in. Get out of here! Vincent glared angrily at the people, and a powerful aura suddenly surged out. In an instant, the leading group of more than 10 people suddenly fell to the ground, with extremely frightened expressions on their faces. Humph, you two are very scheming. Vincent glanced contemptuously at Gandalf and Tyson, whose eyes were almost filled with fire. But no matter how scheming you are, in the face of absolute strength, you can't do anything. It's bullshit. Vincent, you trash, you have the guts to kill me right now. How dare you be so arrogant when Master Jace and Master Lay were here? Tyson roared. Jess, Ray? Thinking of the shame that Jess and Ray had brought to his pair family, Vincent's face was suddenly filled with anger, a vicious look flashed in his eyes, and he waved his right hand violently. Two flame beams flew past, and two bloody holes suddenly appeared on Tyson's shoulder. Kill you? No rush. Vincent's expression was extremely ferocious. You two are still useful now. I still need to ask you two something. When I finish asking, I will let you know what it means to be in pain. In the meantime, Vincent grabbed Gandalf and Tyson, who had lost their resistance, and rushed towards the Perret family's mansion when the Perret family was preparing to deal with Tyson and Gandalf. On November 2nd, 2231 of the spiritual calendar, it was about 2 months after Reno was trapped in the Golden Chamber. In the inheritance space, the golden light of the Golden Secret Chamber flows, and it is beautiful, but it is stronger than the defense of the 7th level Senior Imperial Spiritual Master. It trapped Reno for 2 whole months. Boom! With a roar, a spherical golden space in the middle, streams of golden light suddenly burst out, directly breaking through the wall of the golden chamber and shooting out. A tall figure with dazzling golden light all over his body strode out excitedly. I'm finally out. I'm finally out. After 2 months of hard training, Renaud finally mastered the third of the 9 basic techniques of controlling the Metal Spirit Master, created by the god-killing Nadim, and broke through this golden secret room. Renaud's heart was filled with ecstasy. He turned his head and looked around, eager to find an exit. However, the surrounding area was filled with gold and there was no exit at all. Haha, young man, congratulations on your success in the inheritance mission assessment. At this moment, the familiar voice of God-Killer Nadim suddenly sounded in the gold system space. As a practitioner of the gold system, you will receive all the inheritance of my God-Killing Nadim. Of course, first of all, you must learn the 9 basic techniques of mastering the secrets of this metal spiritual master. A golden token suddenly condensed in front of Renaud. It was formed and finally fell into the hands of Renaud. Practitioners of the metal system, I think you should also know the wonderful use of my metal system space. Here, the metal system spiritual master will not only practice 10 times as fast as the outside world, but also will not feel the slightest hunger. In the future, with this token, you can freely enter this metal space from outside Jintong Hall to practice. Now, you can choose to continue practicing or leave this metal space. Leave, Renaud said anxiously, without any hesitation. 2 months have passed, and he can't wait to return to the City of Chaos to find out about his son Jason. As soon as the words fell, Renaud's entire body turned into a golden light and disappeared into the golden space. In a clearing outside the death maze, suddenly, a golden light suddenly lit up, and then the light faded, and a tall man appeared in the center of the golden light. This person is Renaud, who came out of the gold inheritance space. This is Renaud looked around for a moment and found that he was in an open space on the periphery of the death maze. It was the same area he had visited 2 months ago. That's the direction of the Chaos territory. Renaud raised his head. Outside the boundary of the death maze, the thick red poisonous mist almost turned into liquid and flowed with each other, giving people an extremely terrifying feeling. Now a month has passed since the September poisonous fog dissipated. This death maze is located deep in the cloud swamp. The red poisonous fog is extremely poisonous. Even after the 7th level Emperor Spirit Master breathes in, they will also die in pain, which is why the big families in the territory of Chaos have to wait 8 years every time they come to the death maze. This poisonous fog. Renaud frowned and snorted coldly. Without any hesitation, he walked out of the boundary of the death maze and walked into the red poisonous fog. As if sensing the breath of living creatures, the red poisonous mist suddenly swarmed towards Renaud's location. At this moment Chichi Lenovo's arms instantly turned into a phantom, lingering in gold, giving people a feeling of being filled with the sky. The feeling of sword energy, countless powerful sword energy crisscrossing it, extremely sharp. The surrounding space seemed to solidify at this moment, forming a golden ball around Renault. All the red poisonous mist could only spread to the edge of the golden ball and could not enter even half of it. The metal spiritual master basically controls the third form of the secret method. Just like the iron-backed sword Mantis's original defense, it already has a faint property of being able to put itself in an absolute defensive space. If there are some powerful attacks, this defensive space may be defeated, but the poisonous mist in the cloud swamp itself does not have much offensive power. What is powerful is the neurotoxicity in it, so it can still be defended. Renault, who cared about Jason wholeheartedly, turned into a golden ball, submerged into the thick red poisonous mist in 2 strokes, and flew rapidly towards the territory of chaos. When Renault obtained the inheritance of God-killing Nadim and left the maze of death. In the palace of the Divine Medicine Palace, Jason was lying in the room at the moment, with streaks of golden light flashing on his body. On the surface of his body, golden electric light formed mysterious spiritual patterns, which appeared from time to time. These spiritual patterns were simple and complex, full of mystery, and gave people a feeling that they contained the laws of the Great Road. Against the backdrop of these golden secret texts, Jason's body also faintly showed a golden color throughout, giving people a strong and masculine feeling. After absorbing the weird golden ball, Jason was in a coma for a full month. During this month, the secret texts on his body were like an electrified integrated circuit board, which cycled through every day. 1,200 times. And today, a month later, the secret texts on Jason finally seemed to have exhausted their energy, gradually fading, and finally completely disappeared into Jason's body. Huh. A breath of turbid breath suddenly came out of Jason's mouth. Jason, who had been unconscious for a full month, suddenly opened his eyes and sat up suddenly. Jason's face was filled with a confused light, and he looked around blankly. After seeing the surrounding environment, suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly lowered his head and looked at his own eyes. Right hand. That golden ball, Jason's spiritual sense quickly sensed his body, and this perception suddenly made him startled. Why did my spiritual consciousness suddenly increase so much? Jason's face was filled with an expression of disbelief, and after feeling the incomparable surging spiritual power in his body, Jason was completely dumbfounded. He discovered that before he knew it, his spiritual master level had actually advanced to the level of a 4th level advanced heavenly spiritual master. The rich, liquid-like 4th level advanced heavenly spiritual power was flowing continuously in the meridians throughout his body. It's surging, giving people an extremely powerful feeling. How is this possible? Could it be that I have been in a coma for several months? That is impossible. I have never heard of anyone who was able to advance to the next level while in a coma, and was promoted to 2 levels at once. Could it be that golden ball? Jason's eyes were dull and he muttered to himself. Before he fell into coma, he was only a 4th level low-level celestial spirit master, but when he woke up, he directly became a 4th level high-level celestial spirit master. Even with Jason's knowledge, I have never heard of such a good thing. Jason circulated the spiritual power in his body over and over again. He found that the spiritual power and spiritual consciousness in his body had completely advanced to the level of a 4th level senior heavenly spiritual master, instead of just taking the violent potion. Temporarily improved the level of the spiritual master. While running his spiritual power, Jason was also carefully observing his body with his spiritual consciousness. When his spiritual consciousness penetrated into the sky above his spiritual sea, Jason suddenly discovered that in the gaseous spiritual power above his spiritual sea, a golden ball was quietly suspended there. This golden ball was what Jason was doing. The one found in the palace and later integrated into Jason's body. This golden ball was just suspended above Jason's spiritual sea, spinning slightly, emitting energy like golden threads, seeping into every part of Jason's body. This golden ball, Jason had no idea how this golden ball could enter his body and still be suspended above his spiritual sea. Jason used his spiritual consciousness to control the golden ball, but when his spiritual consciousness just proactively touched the surface of the golden ball, a huge fluctuation of golden spiritual power suddenly came from Jason's body. It was pierced through the body, and in Jason's stunned perception, a golden limit spirit ring quickly emerged from the top of his head, and then floated behind his head. The fourth-level spiritual ring. Jason was completely confused. Is this golden ball the spiritual heart of some spiritual beast? Jason's heart was filled with incredible feeling. He had never heard of it before. What kind of spiritual beast's spiritual heart would look like this, and after absorbing this golden ball, it would actually float above the spiritual sea of the spiritual master? But the golden fourth-level spirit ring behind Jason's head truly told him that all of this was real. Since this golden ball can form a spiritual ring after being absorbed, what about its spiritual skills? Jason couldn't help but use his spiritual power to activate the golden spiritual ring. The golden ball above Jason's spiritual sea suddenly accelerated its rotation. A light golden, almost transparent golden spiritual power suddenly radiated from Jason's body surface, forming an up and down line around Jason's body. A spherical space with a radius of about 10 meters on the left and right sides. This is? Jason felt the space in the golden ball carefully, and then his eyes suddenly widened. Elemental enchantment, a gold-based elemental enchantment? Jason's eyes, there was horror in it. He found that in a spherical space with a radius of 10 meters with himself as the center, all the other spiritual elements in the air had almost disappeared, leaving only the metal spiritual elements. The effects produced were clearly similar to those of the 8th-level Emperor spirit. The elemental barriers that only masters can control are basically the same. Elemental enchantment is the most typical symbol of an 8th-level Emperor spiritual master. He can control the spiritual elements between heaven and earth to form an elemental enchantment. In this elemental enchantment, the strength of the enchantment releaser will be maximized. Amplitude. But now, the spiritual skills attached to the 4th-level spiritual ring formed by this golden ball are clearly almost the same as the elemental barrier released by the 8th-level imperial spiritual master. This makes Jason's heart filled with incomparable fear. Shock. And when Jason was extremely shocked and surprised that his strength had been upgraded to the 4th level and he had such a magical 4th-level spiritual ring, in an unknown cave deeper in the cloud swamp, those golden eyes appeared. Opened it again. This boy actually absorbed the master's golden spirit bead into his body. This is impossible. Those golden eyes were also filled with inexplicable shock. The golden spirit bead is a divine weapon given to the master by the Lord back then. Only gold spirit gods who have reached the spirit god level can use it. Otherwise, even a 9th-level gold spirit master wants to control this golden spirit bead. It will definitely be exploded by the huge energy contained in this golden spirit bead. But an incredible low voice buzzed in the cave. I'm afraid this young man is a 4th-level heavenly spirit master. Although the 3 spiritual rings on his body are good, and the 3rd spiritual ring is formed by absorbing the spiritual heart of the immortal fire phoenix, but the immortal fire the phoenix is just a small 9th-level holy beast, there is no way it can withstand the powerful power contained in the golden spirit bead. There seemed to be a lot of confusion in the voice. When the master set up this treasure, he was just looking for a suitable heir. But this time, not only was the heir found, but even the master's artifact was inexplicably absorbed by this kid. The voice suddenly, he chuckled, elemental barrier, hey, the golden spirit pearl is a divine weapon. This young man's strength is too low. What is the element barrier? Even the forbidden spirit realm is just a small skill attached to the golden spirit pearl. It's a waste of resources. What a waste of natural resources. Without reaching the realm of spiritual gods, there is no way to know the true secret of this golden spirit bead. The voice gradually weakened, and then the golden eyes closed quietly and disappeared into the darkness. When the master ordered it, he didn't say anything about the golden spirit bead. Since the kid broke through the terrifying stairs, entered the divine medicine hall, absorbed the golden spirit bead, and didn't die, it didn't want to take care of it. At this moment, it is noon. Although the hot summer has long passed, and there is no longer the furnace-like climate of the first month, under the influence of the autumn tiger, the air is still so hot that it is almost breathless. In the Adventurer Guild Tavern in the southern adventurer town in the territory of chaos, a large group of adventurers were shirtless, eating and drinking. Although the entire territory of chaos has been in great chaos in the past month, with a large number of wars constantly happening in various places, for these little adventurers, the turmoil in the territory of chaos has not affected them much at all. No matter which family is in power, what their group of adventurers have to do every day is still to find a large number of herbs and materials from the depths of the cloud swamp, and to hunt spiritual beasts. Squeak! At this moment, the door of the tavern suddenly opened, and a middle-aged man with a resolute expression walked in from the door with a long sword hanging at his waist. In a pair of shining eyes, there was an inadvertent flash of light. A powerful aura passed through, making people feel fearful. Experts and all the adventurers stopped drinking wine in their hands, and then continued to drink their wine as if nothing happened. Does any of you know any news about the 8 major families in the territory of chaos in the past month? The middle-aged man just stood at the door, looking at everyone present, and did not walk in. This middle-aged man was Renaud, who came out of the depths of the cloud and mist swamp. After coming out of the cloud and mist swamp, he couldn't wait to know the news about Jason. He didn't have time to wait until the city of chaos to inquire. Instead, he came directly to the edge of the territory of chaos. An adventurer town. With the status of Jason and his group, if something happens, it will definitely cause a stir in the territory of chaos. Even some low-level adventurers should know some news. There was silence in the entire tavern, and no one made a sound. Even the few arrogant adventurers, although they couldn't stand the middle-aged man's demeanor, were obedient and did not dare to speak in such an atmosphere. Renaud couldn't help but frown slightly, and then he came to the door in front of a big man with a beard and a ghost-headed sword that was often stained with blood. On the table, he sat down and said, "It's just you. Tell me." The big man's brows couldn't help but twitch. He is a 5th-level low-level sect spiritual master and the strongest person in this adventurer town. Even among several nearby adventurer towns, he is also quite famous. His ghost-headed sword has cut off the heads of countless spiritual beasts and adventurers. When fighting, he is extremely ferocious and is nicknamed the Butcher. However, in front of Renaud, the big man who was called the Butcher by other adventurers seemed to have instantly turned into a chicken, and cold sweat instantly covered his forehead. Although he didn't know Renaud's true strength, the spiritual consciousness of his 5th-level low-level sect spiritual master clearly told him that the person sitting in front of him was a strong man whose strength even he couldn't see through. Renaud's brows couldn't help but frown, and then he seemed to remember something, and stretched his right hand into his arms. The big man sitting opposite him suddenly tightened his muscles and looked extremely nervous. A cyan spiritual core, the size of a fist, was placed on the table by Renaud. When he passed by the cloud swamp before, a 2-headed corpse eagle accidentally broke into Renaud's flight path and was killed by him with a sword. Finally, the obtained spiritual core. Tell me all the news you know about the 8 major families in the territory of chaos in the past month. Renaud said indifferently, "This spiritual core is yours." Oh my god, this is the spiritual core of the 5th-level flying spiritual beast, the 2-headed corpse eagle. A knowledgeable adventurer in the crowd exclaimed. Suddenly, there were waves of subtle noises in the entire tavern, and everyone looked at Renaud with surprised expressions. The 5th-level spiritual core is a sky-high price for little adventurers like them, and it is also the spiritual core of an extremely rare 5th-level flying spirit beast. Although this 2-headed corpse eagle is only 5th level, Because being able to fly in the sky is extremely difficult for even 6th-level spiritual masters to hunt, so it is quite rare and precious. Butcher couldn't help but swallowed hard and said in a trembling voice, "My lord, I know a little bit about the news about these 8 major families. As for this spiritual core, there is no need to give it away. To get to these 8 major families, we have to start from a month ago." Butcher naturally knows that masters like Renault are usually moody, and the question asked by the other party is not particularly rare news, although the 2-headed corpse eagle, the spiritual core, is extremely attractive, but Butcher doesn't want to risk his own life for such a spiritual core. Although in the eyes of some people, the spiritual core of this 5th-level spiritual beast, the 2-headed corpse eagle, is even more precious than the life of himself, a 5th-level low-level sect spiritual master. What? Are you saying that among the 8 major families in the territory of chaos, only the Per family, the Bella family and the Bayuan family have 7th-level imperial spiritual masters, and all the imperial spiritual masters from the other families have mysteriously disappeared? Renault couldn't bear it. Juju said in surprise, his aura inadvertently erupted. Everyone present suddenly felt a chill on their necks, and subconsciously shrank their necks. Yes, sir, now there are only 3 major families left in the Chaos territory, the Pear family, the Bella family, and the Bayuan family. It is said that the imperial spiritual masters of the other families have died in the depths of this cloud swamp. Even the Curie family, one of the original 3 major families, is now struggling. The big man swallowed hard. What about the Kang's family? Is there any news about it? Renault asked hurriedly, his face full of anxiety. The Kangxi family? The big man had doubts on his face, and then suddenly said, "Sir, are you talking about the family that made a fuss in the city of chaos a few days ago, and suddenly became the 9th largest family in the territory of chaos from an ordinary family? The powerful Kangxi family?" The big man frowned and said, "I heard that the 7th-level imperial spiritual master of the Kangxi family, and Master Najis who defeated Master Pierre in the preparation of spiritual potion, this time I also died in the depths of the cloud swamp and could not come out." What did you say? Renault suddenly stood up, his face instantly turning pale. An indescribable powerful momentum suddenly broke out in the tavern. All the adventurers present were so frightened by this momentum that they sat down on the ground. "Tell me again, what happened to Master Jace of the Kang's family?" Renault suddenly picked up the big man and stared straight at the big man's face like lightning. Under Renault's powerful strength, the big man was completely paralyzed, without the slightest courage to resist. "Sir, it is said that Master Jace also died in the depths of the cloud swamp and has not been able to come back. Moreover, there has been no news about him in the territory of chaos in this month." The big man's face was extremely frightened, and his eyes were full of horror. With a cry, "I just heard. Boom! Renault threw the big man aside. "Jason, are you really not back?" Renault's eyes were extremely sad and he murmured, "No, I don't believe it, I don't believe it." Boom! A golden ray of light suddenly emerged from Renault's body, and then the whole person instantly turned into a golden ray of light, quickly swept towards the city of chaos, and disappeared at the end of the sky in an instant. Oh my God, the 7th-level Imperial Spirit Master, who is that middle-aged man? After a while, the adventurers in the tavern gradually came to their senses, with shocked expressions on their faces. Voice. In the sky, a golden stream of light flashed past. It was Renault, who was extremely anxious. Powerful golden spiritual power roared out of his body, instantly raising his speed to an extremely terrifying level. "No, impossible, Jason, nothing will happen to you, nothing will happen to you." Renault murmured in pain. The edge of the territory of chaos is only a few hundred miles away from the city of chaos. When setting off, Renault and others flew for several hours before arriving. However, at this moment, under Renault's rapid flight, an hour later, the stream of light flew into the city of chaos from the south gate direction. The Khan's family mansion. Because Tyson and Gandalf were captured by the Per family, the entire mansion was already in chaos. Countless people in the City of Chaos who need Gandalf to prepare elixirs are extremely dissatisfied with the arrogant behavior of the Per family, but they are just dissatisfied. Facing such a huge giant like the Per family, they are just holding back their resentment. But he didn't dare to express himself at all. Today's Per family is arrogant in the territory of chaos, even more powerful than when they were one of the three major families. It is simply not something that ordinary people like them can resist. After the people gradually dispersed, the members of the Kongsi family stationed in the City of Chaos were at a loss. Without their backbone, they had no idea what they should do at this moment. In fact, they can't do anything at all. The Per family is too powerful. In the confrontation between the two families, their strength is simply a drop in the ocean and cannot play any role at all. Just when they were extremely panicked and confused, whoosh, a golden light suddenly fell in the courtyard of the Kongsi family mansion, and then walked directly into the messy hall. Feeling the entry of an extremely powerful aura, the members of the Kongsi family in the hall all turned their heads with fear on their faces. "Where are Tyson and Gandalf? Let them come to see me," Renaud said coldly with a gloomy face. He was extremely worried about Jason and knew that he could only get some specific information from Tyson and Gandalf. Lord Lay, when they saw Renaud and the members of the Kang's family who had no idea who had broken in, the frightened expressions on their faces instantly turned into ecstasy. "Master Lay, you have to make the decision for Patriarch Tyson and Master Gandalf. The Patriarch and Master Gandalf have been waiting for you and Master Jace to come back." Suddenly, someone in the hall howled in pain. Immediately, everyone's faces were filled with excitement, and tears flowed down. "Waiting for me and Jess to come back." Renaud's face instantly turned extremely pale, and he said tremblingly, "What's going on?" "It's the Vincent Patriarch of the Per family." Someone in the hall cried bitterly, "Tell the whole story." Per family. Renaud's face instantly became extremely ferocious, and he roared angrily. "The afternoon sun, with its intense heat, shines on the earth, bringing the vitality of life." Throughout the chaotic city, there was an inexplicable anxious atmosphere. Everyone looked anxious. The sultry weather filled the hearts of all the people with depression, and there was a faint feeling that something big was about to happen. Deep inside the Per family mansion, in a certain torture chamber, Vincent stood in the torture chamber holding a barbed iron whip, his eyes as cold as knives. "Tell me, which family on the mainland do Jace and Lay belong to?" Vincent had a ferocious look on his face, his eyes widened, and he roared. In front of him, Tyson and Gandalf were hung on the execution rack, covered in blood. The two of them were bloody at the moment, and the robes they were wearing had long been stuck to the bloody wounds on their bodies. Their shoulders were nailed into the wall by two long iron nails. The blood flowed straight down the body, gathered at the feet, splashed on the ground, and meandered into a stream on the cold ground. "Haha!" Tyson laughed loudly. His face was covered with blood. The blood made it impossible to open his eyes, but there was no trace of fear on his face. He laughed wildly. "Vincent, you bastard of a bitch, if you dare, kill me. If you want me to betray Master Jace and Master Lay, just keep dreaming. You are looking for death." Vincent's face said angry, he whipped Tyson's body with the iron-thorned whip in his hand. Ba bang bang. Under Vincent's force, bloody scars suddenly appeared on Tyson's body. The spiked whip imbued with a trace of spiritual power hit Tyson's vagina with force, even though Tyson was the 5th-level senior sect spirit master, couldn't bear it at all. Blood flowed out for a while, and he was in pain. "Haha. Ha ha ha." Tyson laughed. The severe pain made his body twitch and convulse. The iron thorns on the whip brought out traces of flesh and blood. The pain made his expression distorted, tears flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. Vincent stopped whipping the whip in his hand and poured all the water from a bucket on the side onto Tyson's body. Ah! The painful howl sounded in the torture chamber. This mixture of salt water and horseradish water, specially used for torture, was poured on the open wounds. The pain constantly stimulated Tyson's nerves, so that he, a man with a will as firm as steel, couldn't help but howl in pain. However, he was fearless and only wanted to die. Vincent's teeth were itching with hatred. Normally, he might admire such a man, but now, he wanted to chop Tyson into pieces. However, before he got the news he wanted, Tyson, there is still use in living. Seeing that he could not pry open Tyson's mouth, Vincent cast his gaze on Gandalf beside him. Gandalf, as a 5th-level intermediate elixir master like you, has a noble and lofty status in the territory of chaos. There is no need to rely on Jace and Lay. If you can reveal their identities, I can ensure that you are fine, otherwise, you should have seen Tyson's fate. Gandalf turned his head over with difficulty, the corners of his mouth twitching slightly. Vincent's eyes couldn't help but light up. He stepped forward and said, "What did you say?" "Bah." Gandalf spat a mouthful of bloody spit into Vincent's face, and then laughed loudly. "It's really a dream for me to betray Jace and Master Lay. Vincent, just save it. Use your strength." "Haha." Tyson also laughed. The violent laughter gave him a sickly blush on his face. He breathed heavily and coughed up blood in his mouth. "Vincent, if you dare, kill us. Master Jace and Master Lay will avenge us. Vincent, we will wait for you on the road to hell." "Jace and Lay will avenge you?" Vincent, he laughed wildly with a ferocious expression on his face. "Then Lay and Jace have already died in the maze of death. They can't even save their own lives, so how can they save you too? This is simply ridiculous." "No, maybe." Tyson and Gandalf both murmured, with shock in their eyes and disbelief on their faces. "Impossible?" "Humph." Vincent sneered. "To tell you the truth, Jace was forced to a dead end by Elder Daimler and Herbert himself. I heard from Elder Daimler that the stairs full of black air flow. Even with his strength, it will turn into ashes instantly when it touches it. With the strength of Jace, it is impossible to resist it, and finally died on the stairs. I think when he died, the final expression in his eyes must be incomparable despair. Well, haha, a young man wants to get involved in my territory of chaos, it's so ignorant." Vincent laughed crazily. The attitudes of Tyson and Gandalf made him feel extremely aggrieved. Only at this time, only then can I find a sense of pleasure. "Vincent, you can't lie to us. It's impossible. Master Jace will definitely be fine." Tyson and Gandalf whispered to themselves. Although they didn't believe it in their mouths, there was a look in their eyes. There is a hint of darkness. Daimler and the others have been back for a month, but Master Jace and Master Ray have never appeared. Although Tyson and Gandalf were full of confidence in Jace and Ray, under Vincent's solemn words, the two of them couldn't help but feel a little shaken in their hearts. "Ha ha. After seeing the gray expressions in Tyson and Gandalf's eyes, Vincent couldn't help laughing. At this time, Daimler, "Vincent, you too, get out and die." A rumbling roar suddenly sounded over the Perret family's mansion, and the voice contained a huge amount of emotion. The anger pierced everyone's heart like a sharp knife. Who was shouting outside? Vincent suddenly turned his head, with a trace of anger and confusion in his eyes. Tyson and Gandalf, who were hanging on the torture rack, were stunned for a moment. This voice, Tyson and Gandalf both said with a hint of astonishment, and then a trace of ecstasy quickly spread on their faces. Their eyes showed great surprise. "Meaning, Master Lay, this is Master Lay's voice." "Haha, I said Master Lay will definitely be fine, ha novel, come ha. Both of them laughed loudly. Vincent had only met Renaud twice in total, and in these 2 times, Renaud didn't say a few words at all, so he was stunned for a moment after hearing Renaud's angry roar. But Tyson and Gandalf were too familiar with Renaud's sonorous and powerful voice, full of fighting spirit. "Impossible, Nale," the great elder clearly said that he had died in the maze of death. Vincent had a look of disbelief on his face. Today, Elder Daimler happened to go to the Bella family to discuss how to distribute the money to the Curie family, one of the 3 original families of the Elixir family. Now Vincent is the only one in the family's mansion. That Lay was a 7th-level intermediate imperial spiritual master. Without Daimler present, Vincent did not dare to go out alone. While Vincent was extremely shocked in the torture chamber, in the courtyard of the Perret family mansion, every family member's face was filled with joy, and they looked at the golden figure standing proudly in midair in amazement. They never imagined that someone would dare to shout over their family's mansion now. The trip to the death maze has greatly expanded the Dupere family's status in the territory of chaos. Only the Bella family in the entire territory of chaos can compare with it. In the past era of the 8 major families, the 8 major families controlled nearly 80% of the power and territory of the chaos territory. The 3 major families controlled more than 40% of it. Each family controlled about 15%. The remaining 30% was controlled by the other 5 major families. When the members of the Perret family walked in the city of chaos, there were 7 other major families who could compare with them. But now, the power of the Perret family has been greatly improved. When the members walk rampant on the streets, no one dares to take advantage of its sharp edge, and everyone can avoid it. This refreshing and arrogant feeling filled their hearts with excitement. They had never imagined that their family would achieve such power in the territory of chaos. Each of these big families has a history of hundreds or thousands of years and has a solid foundation. But no one expected that the patriarchs of these big families would all fall into the maze of death within a month. Such a good opportunity was simply because God wanted the Perret family to prosper. The strength of the Perret family these days has made ordinary members like them feel extremely confident. But now the words shouted by the golden figure in the sky made these members feel deeply ashamed. "Senior, I wonder why you are looking for the great elder and the patriarch." A middle-aged man wearing a luxurious spiritual master's robe and a dignified face spoke out from below. His tone was neither humble nor arrogant, and there was no trace of emotion on his face. Of timidity. This man is a powerful elder of the Perret family. Like Fiolentin, his strength has reached the level of a 6th-level senior spiritual master. His status in the Perret family is only lower than that of Daimler and Vincent. Although Renault suspended in the air is obviously a 7th-level imperial spiritual master, as a family elder, he knows how terrifying Elder Daimler's strength has been recently, and he also knows that Patriarch Vincent he was among the family at this moment, so there was no trace of fear on his face. However, what he didn't expect was that the figure in the sky just glanced at him, and then waved his hand. Whoops. A golden sword rainbow instantly condensed in front of the figure, wrapped in a powerful whistling color. He came directly to the elder.